AI can typically help you, at least the way we use it today, is
Mm.
either it'll allow you to do things cheaper, what would take more time and more effort can now be done more quickly, or
Yep.
it can also be used, or not or, and it can also be used to do things that you potentially knew that you could do, but they were too onerous, they were too tedious to do.
Yeah.
And so, in other words, yeah, I should do that, but it's going to take me 3 weeks to do it. So I kind of cut corners and sort of make some assumptions.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Grow IT podcast. One of your hosts here, Trek King. And today we are very excited to have our guest, Mr. Atul Minocha from Chief Outsiders. And today we will be diving into his story a bit, as well as, what it is his company does. And then, as always, some engaging insights into the technology industry. So, make sure to stick around for this one. But without further ado, Atul, welcome and thanks for coming on the show today.
Oh, very happy to be here. Thanks, Trek, for inviting me.
Atul, if we can kick things off, if you could kindly introduce yourself and, just tell us a bit about your background, a couple of snippets of your story.
Yeah, so, I started wanting to become an automotive engineer. So I studied engineering and was dragged into marketing in my very first job. And I call it dragged into marketing because it was against my plan, so to speak. But then within the first 4 months of doing marketing, I realized that A, marketing can be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
B, I can use a lot of my analytical engineering skills in marketing. In fact, I felt that marketing lacked that aspect. I mean, in other words, so I actually made a career in marketing. I've never worked as an engineer for a single day, but I
Mm.
still use my engineering training and engineering knowledge. So that in some ways, I had the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And for the first 25 years or so, I was in the corporate world with Fortune 500, even Fortune 50 companies in automotive technology, healthcare, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then for the last 12 years, I've been part of Chief Outsiders. I'm a partner at Chief Outsiders. I'm one of the early partners of Chief Outsiders. And what Chief Outsiders does is basically um, our ICPs are mid-sized companies, companies in the
Right.
50 to $500 million range. I mean, that's our sweet spot, but that's only 60% of the business. The other 40% comes from either below that or above that.
Yeah.
And I've been sort of bringing my experience, my marketing training, my knowledge to those mid-sized companies, be it
Yes.
in technology, software, automotive, healthcare, or and things like that.
Excellent. Tell me, Atul, obviously you've been doing this for quite some time, right? Based on your expertise, what would you then say is the current market trends that you are currently aware of, right? What way are the winds blowing these days? What have you been picking up?
Well, these days, you cannot have a conversation for more than 5 minutes and not hear the word AI. So
Quite right. It's the buzzword.
yeah, so whether it's hot air or real trade winds, time will tell. I think it is real trade winds.
Yeah.
I do think it's not hot air. So yeah, so in terms of what's the latest, I think it's AI and what impact it'll have in different businesses. And I think
Mm.
IT is one area where it will have an impact. In fact, it's hard to imagine any business that will not be impacted by AI. The real
Mm.
question is how, and how should one position itself to sort of uh, or how to have the sales positioned the right way so that you move your sailboat in the right in the right direction as opposed to getting tipped over.
Yep. Tell me having said that, what's your current take on the market sentiment?
Uh, on what again?
On the market sentiment, from for what you guys do in your industry, right? Is there a good appetite for, at the moment when it comes to the what you guys deliver?
Yeah. So let me start. Let me give you a little bit more on what we deliver, and then we'll see
Sure.
how AI can impact that. So essentially, um, about 98% of our clientele, chief outsiders
Yes.
clientele, they come to us because they are wrestling with some kind of a growth challenge.
Yeah.
And that could be that I've been growing at 25%, but my competition and the market trends are that I should be growing at 35. Or it could be that I've been declining at 10% a year. I'd be happy if I can stem that decline and bring it to 3% decline because I know the
Mm,
industry is going down. So
mm,
it's all relative, right? So whatever your relative
mm.
position is, you want to be above that.
Right.
So that's the reason why people would come to somebody to our company that I'm doing X, I'd like to do Y. Y being greater than X, and usually top line, but could be bottom line also. Now
Sure.
that is the overall theme. Now that can translate into I want to get into a new market, or we need to get into a new market, or I mean how we solve it is a different is a different answer. So, but the
Yes.
fundamental reason why somebody might come to us is that. So with that understood, AI can typically help you, at least the way we use it today, is
Mm,
either it'll allow you to do things cheaper, what would take uh, more time and more effort can now be done more quickly,
yeah.
or it can also be used, or not or, and it can also be used to do things that you potentially knew that you could do, but they were too onerous. They were too tedious to do.
Yeah.
And so, in other words, yeah, I should do that, but it's going to take me 3 weeks to do it. So I kind of cut corners and sort of make some assumptions. But now with AI, I can actually do the thing and have the real answer. And the
Mm,
third thing is do things that I couldn't even think of doing earlier. I didn't even think of doing earlier, but now I can do. Uh,
yeah.
so, so that's I think how I see it. That at this point, there all three potential tracks are there. It'll either save you cost, or it'll allow you to do things that you knew you had to do, but you were cutting corners. And three, allow you to do things that you never even thought of doing, and now you can do.
Yeah. Understood. The Atul, I would like you to just expand and elaborate a bit more. Coming back to chief outsiders, you guys, like you said, you're in the business of growing companies, right? And the tell me from if we can maybe dive a bit deeper, is that like is there like certain departments in the business that you guys specialize in doing, or is it more like A to Z? For example, is it more like from an operational efficiency, or is it more from a sales marketing side of things for more revenue? Because like you rightly said, you guys do obviously companies at the moment where they're at, this is what they want to be, and you guys are the guys that fills that gap, right? To get them to that level they want to be, may it be from an ARR point of view or for different markets, like you said, it depends. So if you don't mind just to elaborate a bit more, that like areas
Yeah.
that you guys focus on.
Yeah, so our primary focus is on the top and bottom line, but
Yep.
starts with the top line. So we don't typically start with operations. We sort of take that as a given. Now we do
Mm.
step into operations if we feel that there's something to be had over there that might
Yeah.
affect the
Make a difference.
affect the top line more positively. So we don't shy away from that, but we don't start with that. We sort of
Mm.
say operations is not the first thing we look at. We look at the way we like to describe it is that we are looking outside the window. Operations is considered you are looking inward. We are actually looking outward. So
Got it.
that's where we start. But again, we
Yeah.
don't shy away from anything that we might see as a misfit or something
Mm.
that can be improved within the operations also. So yeah.
Yeah. Tell me, if you don't mind, is there possibly without mentioning obviously the clients, the company names and so on, but is there maybe an example you can give from, like a business that you guys played a big role into, where they were at and what they have achieved since chief outsiders came in and did what you guys do best.
Yeah, so I can give many examples of that, but I'll pick
Yeah.
one from IT field. Okay,
Yeah.
so about 10 years ago, I
Yes.
was brought in by a company which was basically doing software development
Yeah.
um, for clients in the US. And at that
Yeah.
point in time, they were at an ARR of $2.5 million.
Sure.
Uh, and they were based, or their operations were based in Mexico.
Mm.
So their positioning was that, nearshoring, the software development clients in the US,
Yeah.
we do software development out of Mexico.
Mm.
So I was brought in to sort of say, how can we grow this business? I mean, they're gone from 0 to 2.5 on their own, but they felt that they could use some professional marketing help to get there. And I
Yeah.
actually worked with them for over 5 years. And over the 5 year period, they went from 2.5 to 20.
Yes.
Um, and at 20, they got bought out. So the trick over there was over the 5 years was that what we needed to do at the 2.5 million mark was very different from what we needed to do at say 6 or 7 million mark, and then which was very different from what we had to do at say 12 or 13, 14 million mark to sort of get there.
Yeah.
So if my memory serves me right, the interesting thing was that when I first started working with them, I
Yeah.
realized that any effort trying to sell this company or to market this company to potential clients is not going to be very effective. And the reason for
Mm.
that was that in the US back then, and I think that has changed over the last 10 years, thanks largely to the effort that this company and I had made. But back then, so back in 2014, if
Yep.
you did a survey of what comes to mind when you think of Mexico, you'll hear tequila, you'll hear mariachi, you'll hear all kinds of things, but software development will not make the top 10 list.
That's
So
interesting. That's very interesting.
because so in other words, if you were talking to a potential client
Yeah.
and you mentioned something about Mexico, they would be thinking, Cancun, they'll be thinking
Mm.
good place to
Mm.
vacation, tequila, or they might even be thinking that, when I get somebody to come in and do my yard work, they typically are from Mexico, but you would not think of software development.
Mm.
Similarly,
Mm.
if you ask the question through the word software development and said what comes to mind or which countries come to mind, Mexico will not make the top 10 list. You would think of India, you might think of Philippines, you might think of
Yes.
Ukraine, you might think of many other things, but not Mexico. So
That's
there was a
interesting.
mismatch, right? Software
Yeah.
is not associated with Mexico. Mexico is not associated with software.
Yeah.
But we said that if we are going to sell this idea
Yeah.
to a potential client, we have a bigger challenge than just making ourselves known. Because okay, you
Mm.
may
Mm.
you may rise within the SEO world, but nobody's doing that search
Mm. Mm.
for Mexico or in software development. So
Yeah.
so my first task was to convince the CEO that our first job is to start selling Mexico, start promoting nearshoring in Mexico, and start selling what are the advantages of that. And
Yes.
fortunately for me, he bought into it. I mean, he wasn't, he was smart enough to realize what the challenge was.
Yes.
Um, and he realized, yeah, let's do that. So we
Mm.
became evangelists for nearshoring. We became evangelists for Mexico. And of course, we
Okay.
got the benefit. Of course, we got the benefit of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But our mission for the first year and a half was let's promote nearshoring.
Yes.
Let's sell the idea of what is the advantage of nearshoring. Why should I be willing to pay 50% more hourly rate to a software development in Mexico compared to what I pay in India?
Yes.
So we have to sell that, right? Okay, there's an advantage, there's a total cost of operation, there's a
Yeah. Yeah.
convenience factor, there's
Like a
the cultural
ROI.
affinity and whatnot.
Such a lot of benefits in
So
that. Yep.
yeah, and then the next step was, okay, how do we, once we became successful in that, now how do we start promoting this company against the other? So we had to come up with tools and tips and techniques to sort of rise above the others,
Mm,
and
mm.
so on and so forth. So what I'm saying is that through the 5 years that I worked with them, as they moved from 2.5 million to $20 million, we were doing different things because we were addressing different challenges of that period or of that time.
Over that time. Tell me, Atul, you've obviously worked with, I mean, you've been doing this for such a long time. You've worked with a lot of founders of companies, CEOs, leaders in companies, and then obviously grown, your own business as well. You and your partners. In your opinion, what type of mindset would you say is needed to be, like a successful founder of a company?
I think uh, what you need as a founder is that you need sort of a, a clear and even a monolithic vision of where you are headed. But in addition to the monolithic vision, you need the flexibility and
Yeah.
open-mindedness
Yeah.
to find new paths to get there. So on one hand, you need the certainty and clarity and determination that this is where I want to go,
Yeah.
but don't be hung up on how I'm going to get there.
Understood. I think it's quite profound what you're mentioning now because I get it, in the sense that it's not a fixed template to, to grow and do. It's about what's in front of you, and especially things that you mentioned now, what technology is available, what other methods are
Yeah,
available, evolves the whole time, right? So,
yeah.
yeah, no, I definitely agree
So
with
I
you on.
mean, just to circle back to the example I was giving. So when I was hired by this firm at the two and a
Yeah,
half million dollar range, they didn't
yeah,
hire me. Hey, we're going to hire you because we want you to promote Mexico and we want you to promote nearshoring.
yes, it wasn't.
They weren't paying me for
Yeah,
that. They, I mean, they would have been very happy if I said, "Yeah, I'm going to improve your SEO and I'm going to get you on the top of the Google list and this and that."
yes,
But that I knew is not going to give them the results because nobody's doing those kind of searches. Because and what I'm describing is that CEO, he had the open-mindedness to
yeah,
recognize that he's right. Atul is right. That if I keep pushing on, I need to promote my company. I need to promote my company. I need 10 more leads every week. I'm I'm trying to roll up a big rock on an uphill path.
yes, yes.
What we need to do is cut down that hill first and then proceed forward.
Proceed forward. Atul, thank you for these valuable insights you provided with today. I can fully understand why you and your business are so successful. The value that you bring to the table, I can understand the success. Thank you for the insights you brought today. I'm sure there's a lot of people that made some good notes, on your advice. Tell me before I let you go, where can the listeners, where can they get hold of you guys?
So you can find me on LinkedIn.
All right.
And one advantage that my name has is it's not a very common name, and I realize that you also have the same advantage. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'm easy to find on LinkedIn, Atul
Yes.
Minocha. My email is aminocha@chiefoutsiders.com. So that's another place
That's
that
another
you can
avenue.
find me. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, Atul. All the best going forward.
Thank you. Enjoyed
All the
it.
best. Bye now.
Thank